Hi everybody, welcome to Nani's Nest Egg. We have a special guest today, my spouse and partner in crime, Libby.
Hi.
Libby and I are here to tell you a story about something that happened to us in the past, but first, you want to say a few things?
Well, I want you all to know that I'm all excited today because yesterday I earned a nickname. And we've been going to the pool since like about a year before the pandemic started. Anyway, and we have nicknames for people like there's Muscle Man and Pez and Slop, and people call me Beast. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And that's enough for right now. You'll learn far more than you want to. And I apologize for that right now.
Alrighty, so our first story for you, and we have way more to come, is about a crash that we had. And Libby's gonna have to start it because I cannot tell you the year. I can tell you it was on the day our taxes are due, so April 15th. But what year?
2016.
And we were driving home from Nebraska, dropping our goddaughter off, and we were in Sterling, Colorado, and it was raining, and we had our two old dogs. They were not Otis and Jake. Otis is guest starring as well in this video. But it was Cleveland, who was about a 26-pound dog, and Hoku, and he was a Spitz mix, and then Hoku, which was about 70 pounds maybe, and supposedly she was a shepherd mix of some sort. I can't remember. Do you? Maybe Roddy Chow mix, some sort of beautiful dog. Anyway, so we had them in the car, and it was downpour, and we knew it was going to turn to snow because we're in Colorado and it's April.
So let me just tell you that we had planned on leaving like in the middle of the night because we were supposed to meet up with Grandma Emily and Dawn like at noon. But at 10:30, it was like I think 10:30, the airport shut down. They closed the airport, and I was like, Sue, we gotta get on the road. This doesn't look good for us. And I said, I'll start. So we got Jay in the car, put her in her car seat, and she slept a lot because it was late. And we just drove straight through. And before the sun was up, we were where we were supposed to be in Nebraska, and I was tired. And so I said I was going to climb into the back seat, and we had one of the seats down, so there was lots of room for the dogs. Well, Jay decided she wanted to be there too, but she was kind of scared. And I promised her that Hoku wouldn't let anybody hurt us. And she believed that.
Yeah, we just parked on a side street, abandoned street, because we had like 2 hours. It wasn't worth getting a hotel room or...
Oh no, because then we were going to go get some breakfast and...
With her grandparents.
Oh, I thought we did lunch with them. We did lunch with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we had some time. Nothing was open yet.
Oh, that's right. We were waiting for the museum to open.
But I don't know. It was raining. It wasn't like there was any thunder or lightning, but I don't think I ever fell asleep.
No, because she kept crawling all over you.
Okay, so that's just the backdrop. And so then when we were eating lunch with Grandma Emily and Dawn, and we were going to pass Jay off, I said to Sue, I can't drive anymore. I've done as much driving as I can do. And she said, okay, I got this.
Yeah, because I had slept, and we're very good. Like we stop. I have health issues, so I have to stop every 2 hours and get out and walk around. And we did it in the rain and with the dogs, and we were fine. And so we're driving, and the minute I saw the first snowflake, I see this sheer on the road after a bridge, And I say, uh-oh. And Libby had just waken up and we had just opened a bag of munchies. We hadn't even taken a bite.
I think it was Doritos.
No, it was those munchies.
Oh yeah, it was those munchies, the hot.
That have
yeah.
Doritos, pretzels, Cheetos, and they were
They
hot.
were so good.
So I say, uh-oh, and Libby just looks up and the car starts sliding. And it does a full 180,
It was a 360.
but 180 to the side of the road.
Yeah.
And then it started to do the 360 in the gravel. But it was the slowest, most beautiful dance until the
That's when Sue tripped me.
in our dance. And then the car rolled. And I thought, is this how I'm gonna die? And you thought,
I hope I wonder how well seatbelts really work. They work. I don't recommend testing them.
And RAV4s are the bomb. We had a sunroof that was the loudest, like I can still hear that noise of that cracking above us. Our airbags.
The side airbags.
Didn't the driver one too? Oh. The airbags popped. Popped? What is it called? Inflated. And then
we rolled
twice.
Yeah.
And you thought it was once.
Yeah, but it was twice. I could see Sue upside down. It never occurred to me I was upside down too.
And then we landed right side up in a field. And you said we have to get help.
But I looked at Sue first, and we're just sitting there like, I'm pretty sure we're in shock. And I look at Sue and I say, sure, I'm glad you were the one who was driving. Sue didn't even look at me, and she said,
I always have to one-up you.
And then all of a sudden I saw that this stuffed buffalo I had gotten for my dad. No, wait, I couldn't find my phone. That's what it was. Couldn't find my phone, so I hopped out and started running around looking for my phone, and I saw a stuffed buffalo on the ground that I had gotten my dad, and I was like, oh no, the dogs. And so I ran back to the car really as fast as I could. And when I got in the car, Hoku was like on Sue's lap.
I don't remember.
Yeah, like almost on Sue's lap. Cleveland, I didn't see Cleveland. And when I turned around to look, and his blanket was impaled against the windshield, the back windshield, and the windshield
frame.
Yeah, and it was all broken out. So I didn't know. I knew he wasn't on the windshield. That would have broken before he would have gotten impaled, but his blanket was impaled. I didn't know if he had got flown through the window or what, but I started calling for him. Cleve. And here he came, right up on my lap. I was so relieved. And I had wrapped him in a blanket because he had gotten really wet. And when he finally fell asleep, I had put him in the back with Hoku. And so the blanket flew off, and I don't know what happened to him, but our dogs weren't injured, and they survived without even an injury. It was a miracle. So then I knew Sue was okay, and I ran out to get my dad's buffalo.
Yeah. And then I found my phone was still plugged in to the charger, so I remember pulling this cord, and it pulled my phone. It stayed to my phone, so I called 911, and that's all I remember from the whole thing. I remember Dennis, the truck driver, who's still our friend today. a little bit. And he stopped. He was the only one who stopped. I do remember crying. Nobody's stopping. Nobody's stopping. So you need to tell more about Dennis, because
Okay, so, but first of all, I had panicked that maybe the car was going to catch on fire, and I had run over to the driver's door, and I opened the door, and Sue screamed at me like she was going to fall out. She started hollering, I can't feel my legs, I can't feel my legs. I was like, uh-oh. But she'd kind of fallen out, so I didn't dare slam the door on. And it was, and by then she was on the phone with somebody at dispatch, and dispatch was telling her that there was somebody else on the line, and all of a sudden there was this man where I thought Cleveland had flown out, and he was asking through the window if we were all right. And I said, she can't feel her legs and she's cold. Okay, he said, okay, just a minute. And this woman was talking to Sue, and Sue was crying and saying, nobody's stopping. And the woman kept saying, it's all right, emergency vehicles are on their way. And here came Dennis back with like 2 blankets, but they were soaked. By the time he got from his truck back to us, the blankets were soaked. Anyway, then the ambulance came, and that seemed like it took forever. And Dennis just like waited. He was just so dear. He just waited in the rain, and
it was
snowing. It was snowing now. Yeah. So then the EMTs got aboard and got Sue out of the car and took her to the ambulance. And then one of the EMTs came back and said, are you going to go with us? And I said, I'm not leaving our dogs. And he like looked at me. He says, well, ma'am, I don't know what we would do with the dogs. And I said, well, I'm not leaving them. And then I said, you are taking her to a hospital. There's got to be an animal shelter. And he said, just a minute. And he left for a minute, and he came back, and he said, okay, ma'am, the hospital will take the dogs until the animal shelter can get to the hospital. And I said, okay. So Hoku was perfect. She just ran alongside me, and I carried Cleveland, and I put them in the back with Sue. And I got an ambulance in the front, and I had my backpack. And they started going. Oh, and Dennis was like, here, and he handed me something. Maybe it was my backpack. He handed me something, and then I said to him, thank you so much. You saved our lives. And he was so humble. Yeah, he said, oh, I don't think I saved your lives. And I said, oh, I think you did. And what's your name? And he said, I'm Dennis Baker. And I said, okay. And I just had to remember it. And after everything was done, then I looked for him on Facebook. So that's how we found him. But we finally got to the hospital in Sterling, and the EMTs said that I just needed to wait there, and they got Sue out. And then somebody, I don't know if she was a nurse or a CNA, came out and said, we're gonna get your dogs, and I'm gonna have you put them in this room. It was like a storage room, and after you've talked to the registrar, I guess that's what they're called, then you can go sit with your dogs. So I had to give them all Sue's information. And the EMTs had kept asking me, when's her birthday? When's her birthday? And I couldn't remember. I was like, 10-9-68, 10-9-68, 10-9-68. And then it was like stuck. Anyway, so I got in the room with the dogs, and Sue was wherever she was. And then this woman, Jamie, came to pick up the dogs, and she said, now if you're out of here in an hour, you be sure to get a motel where they'll take dogs, and I will bring your dogs to you. 8 hours later.
Yeah, but you forgot that I was unresponsive and you were scared. In the
Oh, yeah, I was
car.
scared. Oh, yeah, I did forget that. So I was hanging on to my backpack, and I kept
In
hearing
the ambulance.
in the ambulance, and I kept hearing one of the EMTs saying, "Sue, Sue," and I'd cling to my backpack and look over because all I knew was that I felt desperate, and desperation has never, ever, ever served me well when I've acted on it. So I wasn't about to act on it, but it was really hard to stay buckled in. But I just hung on to my backpack, and that's how I stayed in my seat. And Jake has decided to join us. So then, 8 hours later, they came and said I could finally see Sue.
You didn't get to see me for 8 hours? Oh, see, I don't remember anything. I finally, like, I remember when you were there and they said they had to get me to a different hospital because I'm on blood thinners, and they wanted to make sure
That you
I
didn't
didn't
have
have
a brain bleed.
internal bleeding. Yeah, brain bleed. And I had shoulder pain, but nothing.
And maybe it was 8 hours that we left the hospital, because I do remember sitting in there with you, now that I think about it. And that's when I heard them say that they would take you by ambulance, but the roads were too bad. And they wanted to get a helicopter, but the weather was too bad.
Mhm,
But
right.
if you had internal bleeding, there was nothing they could do for you
There.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I haven't even taken my medicine today. It's still in the car. And the doctor's like, you didn't take your blood thinners? I'm like, no. And she's like, are you comfortable watching her? And you're like, I watch her every day. It's like, all right, you guys can go. So I was discharged, and they called.
Remember the lady on the other side of the curtain was telling us who to call to get a room? The hotel.
Oh,
go,
yeah.
Go to this hotel because they had just had flood damage.
Yeah. It's all fixed up. And then, so I have no clothes. They cut everything off me except my jeans, which were soaking wet, but I did, thank goodness, have a pair of leggings underneath. But everything on top of me, they cut off at every stitch. So, right? Is that right? So I couldn't, it was so cold. I wasn't going to put wet clothes back on. And I had nothing to put on top of me. So what did they give me? Paper clothes. Paper scrubbies. And I have a big butt. Let's just be clear here. And they're shorts nonetheless. They're like boxer paper underwear. And thank goodness Libby's like, well, you can wear my hoodie. So I wear her hoodie.
That's not what happened. Sue said, you have a shirt underneath that hoodie.
Is that what I did? I was so scared. I was walking out of there in a blanket.
And I said, okay, you can use my hoodie.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I wore her hoodie and I tried on these shorts and they weren't going over my bum. In fact, I think they ripped. I don't know. But then I went back out and I realized that my leggings were still partially dry. They weren't soaked like my jeans. So I put those on and we were ready to go. So we're waiting for our taxi. And, cars come and go, and this rattletrap
Dodge Caravan
pulls up, and, we're ignoring it because that is not a taxi in Denver. And we're just talking, and the lady pops out, did you call a taxi? We just look at each other. Yeah? Yeah, I'm your taxi. So we hop in, and you were going to get in the front. right?
She said, get in front. Yeah.
So did you sit in front?
No. I started to.
I thought, and then you got back with me. And then we're like panicking, like panic attack panicking. I am. There are no seatbelts. Seatbelts. And then you know the little things that you can hold on to. When I was growing up, we called them, I don't think I can say it on YouTube, but like when you're scared, you hold on to them bars. I'm not going to say it. Pussy bars. So you hold on to these things. Those were
broken.
Duct taped
Duct taped.
Onto the headrest of the seat in front of us. And I held on to it, man. I was scared. I was scared to death. Oh, we got to back up to when the police officer brought me my stuff.
Oh, that really was not fair.
So he did come into the room and he's like, so I found some personal items of yours in your car. I wanted to bring to you your purse, your medication, your iPads. He brought us both of our iPads. And could you tell me what happened? And I was telling him what happened. You know, I was starting to slow down. It had just started to snow. And I hit black ice. And he goes, well, I'm going to have to give you a ticket.
The good news is you're still alive.
Right. The good news is you're still alive. The bad news is I'm going to have to give you a ticket for reckless driving. Careless driving. Yeah. So I got a ticket. So anyway, so we are in this caravan, and let me tell you, I grew up Catholic and I am no longer Catholic, but when I am scared like that, I go right back to the rosary prayers. Our Father and Hail Mary go through my head like you would not believe. So, all right, so we get to the hotel.
And it was cold. And this woman says to us that we'll really like the guy behind the desk, right? He's a really nice kid, she says. So we get to the hotel, and then she says, I'm gonna go in with you.
They have warm cookies.
Yeah. They have warm cookies. And I was like, okay. We go in and find out it's her son. And she's basically telling him to be good to us. It was really sweet.
And then we're like, can we have a room for dogs? And they're like, hey, you've been through a lot. You can have this room on this floor so you don't have to go up any stairs. And then when they bring your dogs to you tomorrow, we'll put you in a different room for dogs. So we're like, okay.
Mm-hmm. So we get into our room, and I'm like, Sue, we're starving, and there's no restaurant, but there's a huge like truck stop across a field from the hotel, and we've already been to where the food is, and it's all vending machines. Well, that wasn't gonna work. Right. So I say to Sue, I said, you know, we're really going to be sore tomorrow, so I think it's important that we if we can, we walk across that field and go and get something to eat. And then I said, and you owe me a hoodie.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
I'm flipping cold. I need a hoodie. You get to have a hoodie. I get to pick my hoodie. You picked yours. So we started out across the field, and it was
so
crazy.
so cold. But we were just grateful to be alive.
Yeah.
And we're at the
I went straight to the candy
Travel
aisle.
America. You sure did. I'm like in the warm clothes. I'm looking. There's no hoodies her size. I'm like, oh, I'm going to find something that'll take place of her hoodie. And I find, lo and behold, one of those hats that has the ears and the long braided things so you can tie it under your neck. Usually people just leave them dangling. And it started Libby's history of wearing those hats. That was your very first one, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. And she has probably a dozen of them now at least. But I'm like, I could not find a hoodie that's your size, but I did find this hat, and look, it'll cover your ears. And that's what bothers her the most, is your ears get so cold. And you're like, yeah, and I found all this candy. Okay. So
I didn't need a toothbrush. I already had some
and we needed cigarettes. We were smoking back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We needed
Cigarettes and lighter, and so we got our
stash.
And trekked back to. We must have gotten something else warm. Like I must have gotten a scarf or mittens or something. I'm assuming. I don't know, but we trekked back to our hotel room. We must have slept. No, you did not, because I didn't have my CPAP machine. And then the next day, so we really didn't have any clothes but what were on our back, which was barely anything. And this was a huge snowstorm. Like, we didn't know if we were going to get out. And I had called the insurance company, and they told me a car was going to come that day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Saturday. It was a Saturday.
No, it was Saturday was the day of the wreck.
Oh, so Sunday.
Yeah.
That the car was going to come on Sunday, and then we would be able to leave then, but we weren't sure because there was so much snow. And then that was a whole nother fiasco, because then that's not how insurance companies work, I guess, or at least not ours. And we were lied to. We had to get a rental car. They weren't going to bring one to us, and we're in Sterling and there are no rental car places. So we had to go.
But the phone rang. Or we called Jamie, I don't know. But we told her where we were, and she said she was going to bring the dogs. I said, well, we don't have their leashes and we don't have food. And she said, I'm going to bring that too. And I'll be there right at noon. Well, Sue and I were sitting outside.
Yeah.
Under the, whatever that was.
The awning outside the hotel.
Waiting for our dogs.
Yeah.
And they came. And then I said to Sue, we really need some clean underwear. And I guess...
I didn't have upperwear either.
Yeah, I said underwear. And so I said, I imagine there's some place to go. And I went to the front desk and I asked for a taxi. The rattle trap arrived with the same driver. I didn't care. I got in. I bought us bras and underwear and food and fire red sweats.
And trash bags, because we still had to go to the car.
Yeah, we had to go back to the car.
We had to go to the junkyard and empty out my car.
Yeah. So then, because we didn't have a car, we spent the whole day in the hotel with our dogs. Sue took a nap while I was shopping.
I did.
And then I called her and I said I had so many bags.
And Cleve had such a stomach ache. He had diarrhea all over. Oh, the hotel didn't move.
Oh, that's right.
Us. They're like, we don't care. You guys have been through so much. You can stay in the non-pet room. And then our dog had diarrhea all over their bed, the bedding, the white bedding. So I'm in the shower, scrubbing the dog, scrubbing the bedding. Like a non-dog animal room.
And it was Sunday, so we had to call our parents.
Yeah.
And I had called Karen the night before.
My sister, yeah.
Yeah, I called Karen and let her know. And so I had to. My mother was in hospice at home, and it wasn't like full all the time, so she was still pretty conscious, but I was kind of worried about calling my folks. I called and my dad answered, and I just said, Dad, I need you to know that we're okay, and that we had a rollover accident on 76, and the car's totaled. And he said, just a minute, and I heard him tell my mom. And my mother got on the phone, and she was, I guess, devastated.
Very dear.
She was very dear. She said, oh, Libby, I should be with you right now. And I said, it's okay, Mother. Your God's big enough for both of us, and we're okay.
Yeah.
And I think that helped. I think. So anyway, of course, then as we're calling people, we have to agree to call back like every 3 hours or something. But it was nice that people cared about us. And then we decided we would not call Carter, because Carter doesn't care about weather, and he would have come and gotten us in his truck on bare tires, threadbare
Carter
tires.
is our oldest son, and he would have, and he to this day is mad that we didn't call him, because he says he would have come and gotten us. So,
but you know, bald tires are a rattle trap.
So we had our insurance company debacle while we're eating our what is that called? Continental breakfast. I'm sobbing in the dining room because that's not what you told me. I was so bruised, and I wasn't that sore. Well, my shoulder was very sore from the seat belt and the airbag. I just had this huge bruise on this shoulder over here, on this one that Otis is protecting. And then, but that was it. I think that I couldn't feel my legs because I was in shock. Because by the time we left the hospital, I mean, I walked out of the hospital, obviously. And then we were fine. And so then we called a cab to get us to the nearest.
That was Monday. Monday we called a
right,
cab.
because he couldn't get us there until Monday.
Yeah, the
rental car place wasn't open until Monday. That's right. So we had to stay an extra night at the hotel, which was fine because you had gotten enough food for sure. And we had to go to our car, so that worked out. So it wasn't a rattle trap, was it?
Oh, yes, it was. And we had our dogs. We sat in the very back.
Oh, that's right. I don't know what it is about taxi cabs that don't have to have seat belts.
I don't know, but also he had said it was going to cost $180.
Well, he said $90 round trip.
Yeah.
And we were going to have to pay because he had to get back. So we were going to have to pay round trip even though he was dropping us off. And I was like, we don't have that in cash. Or we had just that in cash. So
No. So I asked him if he took credit cards, and he said, do I need to take you to an ATM?
He kept saying it over and over.
But then when he dropped us off at Hertz, I think it was Hertz, and we were talking to him again, it was $90 instead of $180. And I said, oh, okay. I had enough cash. And then so we got the car, and this guy was so nice. No, there aren't supposed to be dogs in the car, but these are special circumstances, and I'm going to write a note about that. You'll be fine. So we got in the car, and we went back to the wreck. And something we were devastated about was that we had a rock Jay had given us
that she had painted,
and a guardian angel.
And her little tiny horse, which we didn't know
right.
we had lost. So I had this little angel, it's about this big, that would go on my visor, and it was like don't drive faster than your guardian angel can fly,
Yep,
or something
yeah.
like that. And I got it at the Mother of Caprini Shrine when we went up there once. And it's just always, I don't know, I just love it and think it keeps us safe, which it does. And the weirdest thing is that I was like, we had already cleaned out the RAV, my car, from the junkyard, and I thought I left it on the visor. And I was like, oh, I forgot my angel. Libby, I forgot my angel. And I looked down, and my angel was right there in the dirt.
Where we'd crashed.
Yeah. And then you were bummed about the rock, and we were looking and looking and looking for the rock, and you found the rock. And then Jay wanted this little tiny horse, little tiny rubber horse from a museum that we went to in Wyoming. I don't know if any of you,
in Nebraska.
Nebraska. It's I don't know if any of you have driven it, but it goes over the highway, right? Isn't that the? And she forgot it with us, and lo and behold, we found that in there too, and a lot of munchies. And it was sunny out. I mean, in Colorado, it's a snowstorm with 8 inches of snow one day, and then the sun comes out and everything melts.
So the lesson learned in all of this is the dance was beautiful until she tripped me.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. It was beautiful.
And we'd spent $3,000 getting the bumpers fixed because
This car, Libby has torn off the bumpers one time. She went we had friends helping us around the house, and she went and spent like, I don't know how much at Burger King.
it was $50-something.
Yeah, it was bags and bags and bags to feed them and their family while they were over. And Carter and his family, because they were living with us at the time, I believe.
No, they weren't.
Oh, but he was there too, though, right? And she comes back and she's like, Sue, can you come outside? Sue, no, really. I'm like, what? Come on, do you need help bringing the food in? What? She's like the guys are right there. They can help you. What? She's like, no, really, you alone, can you come out? Can you come out? I come out and my bumper is hanging by, you know how kids let their teeth just hang by that little tiny root? That's how my bumper was hanging. She had backed up. No, it was the front end. And she had hit a
Trailer hit it.
she tore it right off. And then the back bumper, what happened there?
I had gone to pick up my parents for Christmas to bring them to our house, and I slid through a light, and this woman, like, none of the cars were going.
It was another snowstorm.
Yeah, and if I had known that there was a traveler's advisory or whatever it is, accident alert, I'm not so sure I would have gone to pick them up. But anyway, knocked the back bumper right off, and we had just paid $3,000 to get the bumpers replaced. And after the wreck, they still looked just fine.
I know. And when you looked at the car front on, you would never have known it was hit. But you looked at it on the side and you were like, dang, they're lucky to be alive.
But seatbelts work.
Mm-hmm. And RAV4s with their side airbags and rollover bars or whatever those are. Miracles.
So we'll talk about another wreck another day. Sure hope you enjoyed this.
We didn't laugh as much as I thought we would.
You're still taping?
I know.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. See Bye, Otis. Say bye, Otis.